Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So for those of you who follow me on my other social media accounts, you would have known by now that I gave birth to a beautiful, healthy baby boy, and we are calling him Wyatt. He will make his appearance later on in this video, depending on when he wakes up. But I just wanted to come here to share with you a little bit about my labor and delivery experience and the days following that. I think the days following it is probably more interesting. But yeah, I just wanted to share with you guys. Thank you so much for all your support and well wishes. And then all the messages I got telling me Happy Mother's Day. I really appreciate you guys. I felt so much love, so thank you. And I have some video clips of me going to the hospital, so I'll play some of that. So we're on our way to pick up my mom from the airport, and then after that we're going straight to the hospital because I am getting induced today. We actually live like an hour and a half from the hospital, so I've been going back and forth a lot on this. Let's close the window. I've been going back and forth a lot on this, on whether or not we should get induced or if I should get induced. There's a slight clinical indication just because I have gestational diabetes, but a lot of people would like to wait. I just have so much anxiety with everything going on. It would just be nice for him to come and I can see him and hold him. At least if anything goes wrong, like I can see and actually do something about it. I feel like right now I have no idea what's going on in there, and a little nervous. Stan's more nervous for my mom being here for like 3 weeks. But yeah, so I'm gonna take you along for the ride. I'm gonna show you some fetal heart monitoring. I'm gonna talk fetal heart monitoring. I'm going to talk about some of the medications they use to induce labor, just my experience from it, more of like a clinical aspect and from a patient aspect. So yeah. So I am currently in the hospital now. Got my IV started. They put in Cervidil, which is supposed to ripen your cervix, which makes it more favorable for when you get contractions to push the baby out. And they said that usually you put it in there for 12 hours if your cervix is not favorable. But she said my cervix was pretty soft, and so she thinks that it's going to go rather quickly. This is the monitoring machine. I've been having contractions apparently, but I don't feel them. And my mom is driving me insane. She's in the bathroom right now. And here's Stan. Check back in. In the beginning, I couldn't really feel the contractions because they had this monitor on me, monitoring contractions and monitoring baby's heart rate. But later on, I did start feeling it more, and around, I want to say, 2 to 4 was when I started feeling really consistent contractions. It's painful, but it's a pain that I can't really describe. I've never had menstrual cramps before, and so I guess that's what a lot of people compare it to. But when I was getting them, I was walking the halls and I literally had to stop and I couldn't walk anymore. And I was doing like this deep breathing, like, and then my mom was there and she's like, man, I couldn't sleep because you kept breathing really loud. And then by 4 o'clock, another nurse has checked me, and she said that by this time I was already 4 centimeters dilated and that I was in active labor. And at this point, I thought to myself, I don't think that I can go on like this for several more hours, because they told me that the Cervidil had to be inside for 12 hours before they actually gave me Pitocin. And what Pitocin is, it's like an oxytocin, and what your body actually releases when your cervix dilates, and this causes the uterine contractions, helping to push the baby down. And so I knew that the contractions and the pain would get worse later on, and so if I were to get the epidural, I should just get it now. And that's what I did. The IV actually hurt more than getting the actual epidural. They kept telling me how the epidural was so great, that the anesthesiologist dosed it so well, because I was still able to move my legs, but I still had a lot of motor control. So that was really good. Oh my god, I look so round. So I started active labor at 4 a.m. and now it's 9, so it's been 5 hours and I'm already dilated to 8. And that's super fast because usually nulliparity patients, which is people who have their first baby, it takes them 2 hours to dilate 1 centimeter. So yeah, almost done. So I think around 11 or 12, I was fully dilated and my nurse told me that we're gonna practice pushing. The whole pushing part, it's so weird because you don't know where you're pushing, and I'm putting in max effort. And you guys know that I go to the gym very often. I lift fairly heavy and I was just not getting anywhere with these pushes. And long story short, it took, like, I want to say from either 10 or 11 until 3 o'clock until baby was out. So I was literally pushing this whole time. Actually, I took an hour break and let just the Pitocin work and push the baby down itself. But other than that, those hours I was pushing the whole time. And I wish that I just listened to my mom and have my body work on its own. But I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. This is my first baby. And the nurses and the doctors are telling me to push. So I'm just going to push. So yeah, but long story short, baby's healthy. He's out. We had to stay in the hospital for a couple days because I wasn't producing any breast milk, and he wasn't latching on correctly. He like does this thing, like he doesn't like to open his mouth to actually eat. And he's like, everyone called him lazy. So then he started showing signs of hypoglycemia, which is like the shakes. And he only peed once and like later on in the day. And so people were worried that he was dehydrated. And so the nurses and the doctors wanted me to stay in the hospital 1 extra day just to establish that feeding routine. So the next day we introduced formula. He was doing a lot better. He was less lethargic. And so we got to bring him home, and yeah. Sorry I had to jump back on here because I forgot I needed to tell you guys why I actually was glad that I was induced. So when I was pushing, baby's heart rate would decrease, and at other times it would become tachycardic and it wouldn't return to baseline adequately. And so we figured that there's some cord wrapping somewhere during the delivery. And when he was born, there was actually a nuchal cord, which was the umbilical cord around his throat. And so the physician was able to take that off and baby was delivered like safely. And I can't imagine having, like, you see those videos on the news or on Facebook or whatever that a mom is rushing to the hospital and her husband's speeding and someone pulls them over and they don't get to the hospital in time. If the baby had any sort of nuchal cord and the mom just pushed him or her out, then the baby would die basically. It happened to my mom's coworker where the baby had a nuchal cord and it passed away right at birth. So it's really scary. When he was born, the doctors put him on my chest, and Wyatt wasn't even breathing right away, or he was breathing but he wasn't crying right away, and so it was really concerning. They had to bring him over to the little changing table and suction his throat and everything, and then he started crying. And so it was a rather traumatic birth, I would say. And I live about an hour and a half away from the hospital, so I'm glad everything went smoothly. I'm glad everyone is safe, and I'm glad he's healthy. So yeah, I just wanted to come here and say why I was actually glad I was induced. I know I'm in medicine, but one side of me is super hippie and I feel like it should be natural and all that stuff. But yeah, I'm glad everything turned out great. So let's continue with the story. So I think the two most stressful things though about this whole process was, one, my mom being here, and then two, lactation. So I don't know if you guys have this in your culture, but apparently in Asian cultures, there's a lot of things that you can and cannot do after you give birth. So my mom was there and then she would say things like, you can't drink cold water, you can't brush your teeth, or if you do brush your teeth, don't brush it really hard because your teeth are gonna fall out. You don't wanna walk a lot, or all you wanna do is stay in bed because your uterus is gonna fall out your vagina. And then I told her, I was like, well, if you lay in bed all day, you're going to get a blood clot. And she's like, no, that's why you can't drink cold water. You can only drink warm water. And she only wanted me to eat this meat, certain meats. And then she didn't want me taking a shower. She didn't want me having the windows open and having any sort of breeze because she said it will mess up your face, cause you to have like a facial droop. I'm thinking she's thinking Bell's palsy, but that's a totally different pathophysiology. I don't know, random things like put cotton balls in your ears. I don't know. It was difficult, her being there, just because if you guys know my story with my mom, like we butt heads a lot. And I know she comes from a good place and I know that she's only trying to help, but it becomes overbearing. And then so she was supposed to stay up until graduation, which is this week, but we actually got into an argument and we had to cut her trip short. And I know like she would probably be happier at home anyways. She was stressed out here because I was acting really mean to her and I was getting stressed out because of the things that she was doing. Like for example, so I was already having these problems with lactation and the baby was sleeping. I had gone to take a nap and within that hour nap I woke up and she had fed him 5 ounces of my express breast milk. And then I was really upset because one, a newborn's tummy is like this small and so he can't eat that much and 5 ounces is a lot. So normally they would eat 2 ounces max and she fed him 5 ounces from a bottle and he was already having problems latching and all that stuff. And so I was really frustrated and I started crying. But yeah, just that simple fact. And then like when he was fussy, like she told me not to pick him up right away or like she would go pick him up. And I was just like, dude, that's my child, you know? And I'm starting residency soon. It's just frustrating because like I'm starting residency soon and I know that I can't be there as much as I want to. So I want to do those things now. I want to be tired now. We love each other and I know she means well, but like sometimes it's just better for us to have our space. So she went home the other day and now it's just me and Stan and it's not like anything's easier. It's just that I have one less thing that I'm worried about. And then the whole lactation thing. So in the hospital, I wasn't making any breast milk. And then I had an appointment with the lactation consultant on day 3, 4. And by that time, I had still not started producing any milk. Or if I did, I was pumping every day, like 15 minutes after I tried feeding him, but I wasn't getting anything. And that morning, I think I got like 2 milliliters of colostrum out. And then the lactation nurse told me that by that time I was supposed to have produced, or the majority of moms would have produced milk already. So in the beginning he had problems latching and the lactation consultant said that in the womb he probably like sucked on his finger and then like he just likes to do this a lot instead of opening his mouth and using his jaw. And so she gave me this, it's a nipple shield. It allows the baby to practice basically putting the nipple further back and then that peristaltic motion of the tongue, allowing milk to come from, like pushing milk from the tongue back into the throat. And so with this, she also gave me like a syringe and then I would basically have to take the formula or the breast milk and then put it in the syringe and then Stan would have to pump it through like this little tubing thing and put it within the nipple shield and do that and feed him that way. And so we were waking up every 2 hours to do that for him every night and feeding him that way every day. And when I saw her again, he was still not feeding. And so she actually upgraded me to this thing. So the syringe was actually a DIY kind of thing. And this is the actual contraption where you put the milk in here and then it goes through this tubing. And the best thing, or the cool thing about this is I can do it by myself, so I wouldn't need to wake Stan up in the middle of the night to do it. And then she also suggested that I take some supplements. And so what she suggested I take was fenugreek and then also this other thing called Maxi Milk. And so I've been taking these 3 times a day. I'm still taking it. Sometimes I feel like he's getting enough milk and sometimes he's not, because he's like fussy, and then sometimes he's not fussy. He still sleeps for long stretches of time. So I don't know. We just gauge it on how many wet and poopy diapers he has, and hopefully he'll gain a lot of weight by our next pediatric appointment. But yeah, so excuse the mess. Stan and I are in the process of moving. Graduation is this week. I am literally running on fumes. I had 2 hours of sleep last night. Actually, there's like, I get anywhere from 1 to 4 hours of sleep a night. So I've been pretty tired, but every time I look at him and he's so worth it, and I love him so much. And so thank you all for being here and supporting me and sharing my journey with me. And yeah, so he's still asleep right now, but maybe I can go get him. So this is baby Wyatt. Hey, honey. He's sleeping right now, but he's like a poopy monster. And he likes to wake up in the middle of the night. And yeah, so he's sleeping right now. But yeah. Okay, say bye everyone. Bye. So thank you all for watching. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. Comment if your family or your culture has any crazy things that they do after pregnancy. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.